Good evening, dear TV friend, and welcome to yet another edition of Special Echo Mountain Echoes. And here we are talking about interreligious dialogue and ecumenism. Today we shall be focusing on a very important topic as far as interreligious dialogue is concerned. And today we have great men and women in our midst who shall be joining us for this wonderful program. And it should be noted that at the end of the Second Vatican Council, the fathers of the Church encouraged ecumenism and interreligious dialogue. Pope Paul VI, in his apostolic exhortation, Nostra Aetate, and Unitatis Reintegratio, and Ut Unum Sint, says God created this world, and all of us were created by God, O Allah, on one purpose: to worship Him, to love Him, and to love His creation. And that is why we are called as human beings to belong to this one fold, the kingdom of God, where God reigns forever. So today we shall be discussing on a wonderful topic as far as interreligious dialogue is concerned. And before I unfold to you our panelists today, Jesse, you give us 15 seconds of break. When we come back, I will introduce our great panelists. Welcome back, dear TV friend. If you are just tuning in, we are on to the program Mountain Echoes Special Edition, and we are talking on the challenges and obstacles in achieving interreligious dialogue in our community. We are blessed to have great men and women in our midst today. And on my right, I will have Reverend Father Rodrigue Yansi, a Catholic priest in the Catholic Diocese of Buea. Welcome, Father Rodrigue.
Thank you very much, Father Cletus, and I'm very happy to be here once more. I've been practicing my smiles on the mirror, how I'm going to smile on TV this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you for honoring our invitation. Next to him, we have the historian, Mr. Cliff Awa from Boma City, Boma Kingdom. Welcome, Mr. Cliff.
It's a wonderful evening altogether for Cletus to be on this panel tonight, and of course to discuss something that concerns humanity amidst the different religious aspects or components that we have in our society, yet we are supposed to be as one family under heaven. It's a great pleasure to be here tonight.
Next to me on my left, I have a special guest today, Reverend Pastor Lovelyn Nda Mofo. Welcome, Reverend.
Thank you very much, Reverend. It's a privilege to come to this panel so that we can share how we can encourage interfaith dialogue and ecumenism, looking at the challenges and how we can be able to overcome them. I'm privileged. Thank you.
Thank you very much. She is the pastor in the Presbyterian Church in Bomaka. Next to her, we have our great human advocate, peace advocate, Mrs. Zianab Abdullahi. Welcome.
Thank you, Father, and good evening, everyone. It's a privilege to be among the religious leaders with great knowledge and to share with you this evening. I'm privileged.
Thank you very much. And dear TV friend, if you are just tuning in, we are on to the program Mountain Echoes, and the topic for today is challenges and obstacles in achieving interreligious dialogue. Before we dive into looking at the obstacles and challenges, I want us to have a brief undertones, the meaning of interreligious dialogue. What does it mean? What is the term? What's the meaning of that term? Mr. Cliff Awa, you are a historian, and you have gone through the corridors of history, and you have something for us today.
Yes, Father Cletus, of course, it's a sensitive one, and I must say I appreciate the initiative to begin this process, because it's something that we have often talked of, but then the practicality often lacks, in as much as the Catholic Church from the 18th to the 25th of January talks about ecumenism. But then I think this platform is going to make it more feasible and practical for people to really participate in this interreligious dialogue. What I want us to know is that interreligious dialogue is a process of engaging in conversation and collaboration with different individuals and groups from different religious backgrounds. And of course, it involves the willingness to listen, to learn, to respect the beliefs, practices, and values held by different religious groups that constitute the society. I think that is the simple definition or the analogy of what we can talk about this interreligious dialogue. It all enhances the essence of collaboration and cooperation, and above all, respecting the values, beliefs, and practices of the other religious denominations. Father Cletus.
Yes, Mrs. Abdullahi, you will bear with me that in a Muslim term, we call God that Allah. For us Christians, we call him God. It's the one and the same God that we all worship. And that is why I'll be turning to Pastor Lovelyn. And Pastor, what are the challenges of navigating sensitive topics such as religious belief and practices in dialogue between different faith traditions?
Yeah, Reverend Father, first of all, engaging religious belief and practices critically involves questioning the assumptions that each religion has, and maybe bringing in or analyzing some of their arguments. And normally, if you want to bring this, you will surely maybe have some resistance, and that resistance will come maybe from people who are very strong in their dogmas. And you see some are also extremists who think that what they believe and they trust in, no one should shake it and nothing should come to disturb it. And so facing such a topic, that means facing such a topic in interreligious is really something that we should really look at it again. Because I realize that there are challenges such as, first of all, though we are from different religious backgrounds, different religions will also come from different backgrounds and culture. So the first challenge is our background and our culture. And when you carry your background and your culture into your religion, you see that it will really be complicating for someone to change that background without any resistance. Another challenge that is we also have is also when others, or let's talk about the language barrier. The language barrier. Looking at the Muslims and the way they study their Quran, you have their language, and if you don't study their language, you will not be able to know much about them. And if you want to face issues of belief and practices in relation to Islam, you realize that there will be so much in relation to that language barrier. Another issue I also realize that is a barrier or that is complicating when we want to address religious practices in any religion. We look at their sectoral context. What is the sectoral context on which their religion is built? And if you touch that sectoral context, many of them will agitate. And when they agitate, they will think that maybe you want them to change from their religion, or you want them to change their concept, or you want them to change their ideas, or you want to convert them into another kind of religion. Then the next thing I also realize here is maybe that educational background. The educational background also is a barrier. We know that people who have studied, they have critical minds. So they are open. And when they are open, they will be able to receive other ideas. And when they receive other ideas, they will realize that even if we are talking on the beliefs and practices of a religion, it will not change your mindset if you have that critical thinking. If you know where your faith is based, even if there are arguments, even if there are anything, it will not change. Now, Reverend Father, there are certain people who are too strong in their dogma, and maybe they think that in interfaith dialogue, when people's faith, beliefs or practices are touched, it means that there is a kind of conversion that wants to take place. Imagine you telling a Muslim talking about whether Jesus Christ is a prophet or the Son of God, or you realize that no Muslim will accept to you that Jesus is the Son of God. But for us Christians, we believe that Jesus is the Son of God, and they believe that Jesus is a prophet. The end result is that it will be difficult for you to touch that their belief. Now you have to be tactful in touching it and making them to understand that this Jesus that all of us believe in, whether you believe in him as a prophet or I believe in him as the Son of God, is the means through which God brought us his message, and through him all of us will have salvation. So I believe that it is very complicating, it is very challenging if we want to face interfaith dialogue or even ecumenism, and we'll start by touching their practice and beliefs, because we will receive resistance.
Thank you very much, Pastor. And it should be noted that the fathers of the Second Vatican Council made it very clear that when talking about interreligious dialogue or ecumenism, let us not touch the creed, what people believe in. Let us center on those things that unite us rather than those things that separate us. And it will help to build that interreligious dialogue. And you will see that as far as interreligious dialogue is concerned, there is that fear and mistrust play in between people. And this hinders dialogue between people, especially between religious leaders. You bear with me, Madam Abdullahi.
Yes, Father. When we talk about interreligious dialogue and facing each other's religion, you see it that it's very difficult to approach somebody to start talking. There is that fear in you to start addressing the dialogue, because you are like afraid, because you are afraid because you have to touch a certain part, like what Reverend have said, like those aspects that the doctrine that each of us have. Like me believing that Prophet Isa alayhi salam, that is Jesus Christ, is a prophet as a Muslim, and you believing that he's the Son of God or he is God. So those things need to be avoided. Because that fear is always there, and it can bring stereotype, and it can bring from there it leads to mistrust. And if I mistrust you, I will not even listen to what you are about to say.
That's right.
So it can bring conflict. So in as much as we want to address the dialogue, we need to avoid all those things that will bring us knock ahead, will separate us to bring the topic. Let us just look for ways and means to educate people to understand that this dialogue is bringing us is bringing us the commonalities that we have as human beings. Let's put humanity first in anything we are doing.
Thank you very much. And it's very important. When we're doing anthropology, the professor at that time, Professor Paul Nkwi, told us that no culture is superior to another. We are all lender and giver. So I think that it is very important. As far as interreligious dialogue is concerned, we must make sure that we don't involve those particular things, those creeds, those dogmas, those issues that can lead to disbelief and mistrust. We should avoid those and rather concentrate on things that unite us. We have a contribution here already, and it says, hi Father, hi Reverend Pastor, hi dear Madam from the Muslim community. I am King Neo Terence from Bukwango. I'm enjoying the program, and a special regard to Father Rodrigue Yancy. Of course, Rodrigue Yancy are just coming from Bukwango. That is why they have to greet you. And dear TV friends, we are just tuning in. We are on to the program Mountain Echoes and the special edition. And the topic for today is the challenges and obstacles in achieving interreligious dialogue. So the number you have there on your screen is for you to send in your contribution. Why not your doubts and your own support as far as interreligious dialogue is concerned. There has come a time whereby the world has to unite as one again, so that we worship one God. And Mr. Cliff Hour, you discovered that power dynamics has a lot to do as far as interreligious dialogue is concerned, and ecumenism. And how can power dynamics and inequalities between different religious groups impact the ability to have open and honest conversation between people?
Once again, Father Cletus, I think it's a privilege to be here and to discuss on this very sensitive issue. When I was called up to participate in this program, I tried to go through various definitions of religion. And the one that I saw very fitting for this program was that of George Bernard Shaw, when he said, there is only one religion, though there are 100 versions of it.
Correct.
Now, I think if we want to ask that, we'll see, and we want to go with this question. who is a Muslim, who is a Christian, without her dressing, will easily not know that she is not a Christian, she's not a Muslim. Now, amongst the Christians, who is a Presbyterian, who is a Catholic, who is a Baptist, who is an Anglican? These are pertinent questions that we begin to ask as far as this topic is concerned, because it is from there that we get to know the background, like we have been discussing. This religion is the system of practice where people have their organized beliefs, values, practices that they have in common. And so therefore, when we come to know that even amidst these different aspects of our religion, we still remain one humanity, it is from there that we begin to write on. Now, power dynamics has a very strong role to play, because if you go to every society, power, especially politics, is the essence of division and inequality. Now, you look at it that in certain societies, power, some religious group hold more power than others.
Yeah.
And once this religious group identify themselves as the majority over the minority, they begin to suppress the minority group. Therefore, the minority group too would not easily give in to the fact that they are being dominated, because no human being wants to be dominated. So this will actually cause them not to easily engage in open and honest conversation, no matter how hard you try that. Secondly, when some religious groups hold a lot of power, they see themselves superior, and this is bound to create competition amongst them. Now, in the midst of this competition, you see that those who feel inferior or the minority are already drifted or marginalized. That will create another problem where an open and honest conversation will not be possible. So therefore, in order to make this open conversation very possible, power must be centralized. Power must be in a way that it must be conducive. It must be able to create equality amongst the people, no matter the creed, practices that they come from. This is the only way that an open environment, an open conversation where people are treated with equal basis, irrespective of their religion, will be able to attract them to such engagement, so that they can have this dialogue and focus on the humanity. Like we have said, behind the word of George Bernard Shaw, there is only one religion, though 100 types of its version exist. The essence of it is the humanity.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cliff Awa. That reminds me, when I was doing philosophy, especially African philosophy, I got into so many African philosophers like Julius Nyerere, J.S. Mbiti, Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, and Leopold Sedar Senghor of Senegal. They talked about the United States of Africa. And the problem was, if we want to unite as one, who will be the president? Is it President Paul Biya of Cameroon, or the president of Nigeria, Chad, Equatorial Guinea, or where? So that is the problem of United States of Africa. I don't think that involves in religion, because in religion we have a common goal. That goal is that we all believe in one God who created humanity, who created the world. And I think that if we know that, as you have said already, all these power dynamics will mitigate everything and bring us to a common consideration. That is why Father Roderick Yancey, it is very common to see how societal attitudes influence ecumenism and interreligious dialogue. And that is why we are about to see the effect of secularism and pluralism and the potential aspect of persons as far as interreligious dialogue is concerned. What are the effects caused by secularism and pluralism in our society?
Thank you very much, Father. That what your facts is. We have to first be clear about two terms there: secularism and pluralism. Yeah. When we talk about the secularism, the ism itself is already a negative. There. So secularism has to do with putting God away from the public sphere. You have to is that tendency of removing God from our world today is what Nietzsche would say, God is dead. the great philosopher Nietzsche.
Yes.
God is dead, meaning the world trying to put God away and trying to separate civilization from it tries to separate religion away from politics or the society. And we see that religious secularism is fast taking roots in the world today, because there is that strive to divide Christianity, or it tries to divide religion, the religion aspect, from the world. And when if it's far about separating even religion from civil society, and secularism has its tenets. When we take secularism, when secularism takes place, when secularism becomes the order of the day, we'll see that there's going to be the erosion of the religious identity of every religious entity. When we accept secularism, we tend to make the religion as one, because secularism also goes with religious pluralism, where we tend to accept all religions as one, and we accept that there's amalgamation of religions, so we can just let all religions just be one, and then under the cover of ecumenism, but each religion has its identity, which we all have to respect. As Mom was saying there very well, who the Muslim believes as Christ is not the same person as who the Christian will believe as Christ.
Of course, yeah.
So when we tend to put these two identities away, when we tend to tend to take religious secularism and pluralism into consideration, we'll see that we'll take away our identity, the identity of who we are, and there's going to be a lot of moral relativism creeping in, where each person will want to believe that his religion is supreme, yeah. And then religion also believes depends on me.
Yeah. Individualism.
There's moral relativism, and there's going to be increase of individualism. Yeah. If secularism tends to take order in the day, and then there's also, we're going to minimize a lot about our religious values. So as you see, the 2014 in France, where there was the abolition of abortion in France, because we tend to take all the religions as one. If the good of society, secularism has to do with want to take the good of society above the good of those of the particular religion. Each religion has its tenets that it opposes, but when we want to put society ahead of religion, it tends to minimize a lot of our own identity, and it tends to cripple a lot of identity. So we have to take care of secularism that is creeping into our rebellious religions. If not, it's going to tend to destroy our religion as well.
I think just to add to what Father Rodrigue was saying there, now you see there is this popular balance: give to Caesar what is Caesar, according to Christian. Who is Caesar? Caesar is also of God. Caesar is a property of God, and it's in line when we talk about the secular world. Who is in control? Who created the secular world? And also going through, I came across something very important that Abkar Ahmed said about secularism and the Muslim. He said secular and Muslim are by definition incompatible words, as any dictionary will confirm it. There can be no Muslim without God. I think this clearly put aside this issue of secularism, that we want to give it higher position than to the point where our religious beliefs bringing us to God are paramount. So therefore, the issue of secularism here must be treated with caution, and of course to make it known that it is not too important, it's not as powerful as the worship of God that we were created, and at the end we are expected to give account for the life that we have spent here on earth with him.
Thank you very much, Madam Abdullahi. There can be no Muslim without God. Pastor Lovelim, there can be no Presbyterian without God. Father Rodrigue Yancy, there can be no a Catholic priest without God. And that brings me to this contribution. This contribution says, good evening, everyone there. Good evening, fathers. Good evening, pastor. Good evening, mom. Good evening, Mr. Cliff. Religion is now a money-making issue in many churches. This one is coming from David Anumo from Bengui, Northwest region in Bamenda. So he's saying that most of the churches now are money-making agencies, and that is why interreligious dialogue cannot really work, because talking about coming into one, what are the agencies that we benefit from? Even though the scripture says that the laborer deserves his wages, I think that sometimes we may exaggerate, and that is not what we are talking about here. But we are looking at the factors, those factors that really unite us as one. Be you a Presbyterian, be you a Muslim, be you a Catholic, be you a Protestant, be you a Pentecostal. What is that factor that unites us as one person? So, dear TV friend, if I just tune in, you are on to the program Mountain Echoes special edition on the ecumenism and interreligious dialogue, challenges and obstacles in achieving interreligious dialogue. We shall have 1 minute break. When we come back, we shall continue with the program. Welcome back, dear TV friend. We are on to the program Mountain Echoes and special edition. We are talking about interreligious dialogue and ecumenism. And Pastor Rovlin, you have been very vocal today, and your contributions have really touched me personally. So I will bring back this question to you. How can the diversity of beliefs and practices within a single religious tradition complicate dialogue with individuals from other faiths?
Thank you very much, Reverend Father. Before I say anything, I would like us to look at the key word, the diversity of beliefs and practices. To understand the perspective of diversity, we have to understand that it refers to the various interpretations of the Bible that each religion or the people have the understanding about the Bible and how they base on their faith. And this is very important because it reflects how their religion or their denomination or whatever accepts what has been written, maybe in the Bible or in the Quran. And for instance, we realize that in Christianity there are numerous denominations ranging from Catholicism, from Protestantism to Orthodoxy. You also have the Pentecostalism who are there. There are many numerous religions, and we also learned that even in Islam we have other. See, like you have the Orthodox Muslim. They are there. You have the Sunni, you have the others, and all of these they are there. And dear Father, I just realized that these diversities stem up from many, either from their historical context, what happened in history, or maybe from their social influences, or maybe from geographical influences and other developments that brought in these diversities. But now, getting back to the question, what is a complication that these diversities in beliefs and practices brings amongst the denominations of the same faith and in relation to interfaith dialogue. Now, Father, the first thing is this, like I was talking when I was talking about the challenges, we realize that the first thing is that there must first of all be ecumenism amongst the denominations of a given religion, and they come together as one. Like Jesus Christ says, a house that is divided against itself cannot stand. And if a certain religion is already divided and they cannot first of all come together and agree, we realize that what will stem up, there will be disagreement within themselves, there will be suspicion of each other, there will be opposition, especially from fanatics those extremists who think that nothing should touch their beliefs or what, and there will be this inability to accept and even embrace that diversity. I know that I'm a Presbyterian, and Presbyterian is the only church, and if it is Catholic or it is all that, it does not hold or all that. And if we ourselves are not united as a religion, how then can we unite ourselves with the Muslims or with the Buddhists and discuss and dialogue? Yeah, or the traditionalists, or what is that? So, dear Father, based on this, I want to think that there is really a need for, first of all, the Christian religion to encourage ecumenism. Because right now, even in ecumenism, we realize that there are other, like the Pentecostals. Okay, let us look at the panel here. We have Catholics, we have the Presbyterians, and I'm sure that if maybe the Baptists and others were here, they would join us. But you will hardly see us really commune with maybe the apostolics, or maybe with the deeper life, or maybe with all that. And this is only based on our beliefs and practices. This is based on our doctrine. This is based on this. And this division, first of all, amongst a house believing in Christ as our Savior, how then can we go out there and maybe come together with another faith that is maybe, though we believe in one God, but they have their own beliefs and practices. So, dear Father, I think that the main complication is division, conflicts, problems that will arise because of our disagreement.
That is it. And history has a lot as far as a division is concerned in Christendom, and why not in other religious practices. We will talk about Hinduism, talk about Buddhism. Buddhism was founded by Siddhartha Gautama, and he had this vision while he was under a tree, and he received this revelation. And with the Buddhist practice, you don't kill anything. Everything has life, and everything has life. You don't kill. But with us, we consider animals as they don't have souls. They are just meant as food. And for the Muslims, they have their practices, they have their values. You don't eat swine meat anyhow. Yes. Or do you eat swine? I don't think so. You don't go by swine, no, by pork. Yes. So then for us Catholics, we eat swine. And so you see, those are the things that really bring about division. They are not really things that you can really hold to it and say that this is a real tenet that you can really hold and say that this thing can take somebody to heaven to meet God, Allah, who created us. And that is why, Mr. Cliff Hour, there are historical aspects as far as this division is concerned. You see, how can history or historical conflict and unresolved traumas between religious groups impact potential dialogue as far as people are concerned?
It's another important aspect to be addressed, Father Cletus. We want to highlight here that historical conflicts and unresolved traumas between religious groups have a significant impact on the potential for dialogue and reconciliation. These conflicts often stem from deep-rooted differences in beliefs, practices, and ideologies, which can lead to long-standing animosity and resentment. In order to move towards reconciliation, a lot of things must be done historically. First of all, one way in which historical conflicts and unresolved traumas impact the potential for dialogue and reconciliation is by creating barrier communication or barriers to communicate. When there is history of violence, persecution, discrimination between religious groups, there is bound to be that tendency to avoid dialogue or conversation. Now, it is essential to address and acknowledge the historical traumas that have shaped the relationship between these religions. Also, historical conflicts and unresolved trauma can perpetuate cycles of violence and influence intergenerational conflict, in the sense that between a difficult moment, it is not easy when resentment and hostility amongst two groups were left unresolved, because the growing generation will be handed over these stories, And so therefore, this generation will be looking at this generation as the defaulter. This one will be looking at this one as a defaulter, all because of historical conflict that were not solved in the religious domain. So therefore, it leads to long-lasting intergenerational conflict between those religious parties concerned and their generation. And so, in order to be able to curb or break through this barrier, it is essential for religious groups to engage in process of truth telling. Yes, there must be the process of truth telling, just like every other dimension. Even among families, it should not be only about religion, because, like Pastor Laughlin rightly said, it is the essence of the fact that our various cultures or where we come from must blend into the society of humanity, not the society of religion. Because we are looking at religion here and then forgetting about that it is all about humanity or human beings. So therefore, like I was saying, acknowledge and the truth telling, acknowledgement and reconciliation. Therefore, once this process has been engaged, there is a tendency of forgiveness and working towards a more quiet and peaceful environment between these people who have had this historical conflict. Don't forget, in history they always say that humanity has refused to learn from history. History has a lot to tell us, and the aspect of religion is not left out. So therefore, when there are historical conflicts and unresolved traumas between religious groups, there is that need for profound dialogue to be engaged, and amongst them we must recognize past differences, tell the truth to the generations that are coming up, so that by so doing it becomes easy to engage these generations, so that dialogue and reconciliation can easily take place for the betterment of the society of the persons.
Thank you very much. History is very important as far as humanity is concerned. When we're doing history, we say that history is the study of the past, present, and future events. Yeah, it's not all about the past, even the present event. After now, this program shall be history. And I think it has a whole lot of influence on the people. And we have this contribution coming in. Good evening, Reverend Fathers, Pastor, and Madam. They are doubting how to call you. And, I don't know.
My name is Zainab Abdullahi.
Okay. Madam Zainab Abdullahi. And my contribution goes thus, that what you people are doing is very important, because it is high time we started being one. That oneness is what we need, because the church is misinforming us, many churches. So we need to preach that unity among the Christians. This one is coming from Mrs. Elizabeth from Tico. Another one. Good evening, dear panelists. It is very important for us to know that ecumenism and interreligious dialogue is something that should be preached everywhere. So I urge all of you not to end in the studio, but to take it to their various quarters and preach, so that this unity may be everywhere. This one is coming from Mr. Awung Charles from Kumba.
Wow.
We have another contribution here. Greetings, Reverends. I am really enjoying your program. Just that I tuned late to your station. I wish to ask that how do we convert the world to be one? I learned Catholics started in the year 33 by Christ himself, Islam by Muhammad in the 6th century, and Protestant by Martin Luther in the 15th century. I am Kum Emmanuel Nga from Bamenda at Chinde Container Roundabout, Alakuma. Thanks. Let me take another contribution. We shall come back to you, Mr. Kum. And then this contribution says, various religious tradition, power, my practices, pride, and materialism, etc., leads to problems. No name. Please, could you send us your name to know who is talking? And again, we have this contribution. Fathers, pastors, Amaria, and Mr. Cliff Awa, Amaria. My question goes it should be those. What made these different churches to separate? What is that? which can be done to join these churches without conflict. I think let us go back to Mr. Kum first before we come. So let me read the question again. I wish to ask that how do we preach unity? I learned Catholic began in 33 BC, and then the Islam in the 6th century, and the Protestant with Martin Luther in the 15th century, precisely to be 1517, with the Reformation. And how can we preach that unity? I think Father Roderick Yamsi, how can we preach this unity, looking at the various dates in which these churches came about?
Thank you very much, Father. I would like to begin by saying, going back to our starting point in this discussion. Our starting point is not so much in the institution of the churches. We are not going into the integrity in the integrities of the churches, but what we are going into what makes us more as what unites us.
Yeah.
If we want to go into those iniquities, those things that the foundations of the churches is that's where we are going to start having a lot of divisions. So our preaching of one, we wanting to be one, is we want to move towards a world where we each see each other as a brother, as a human person, going beyond when the churches were created. We're all created by God in God's likeness. We are going beyond those beyond the foundation of our churches, going before that. And if we only end up concentrating in when these churches were created and when each institution was created and when each institution came up, we'll end up falling again back into the same thing that we're talking about, that we should not look so much at at those things that separate us. But let's look let's look at each other like brothers and sisters. We are all brothers and sisters, and we share that humanity, and which that religion should come more to make us to bring that our humanness together, to bond our humanness, and to make us to live more the principles, those human principles which we all have from nature. Those fish we have as nature. The golden rule is love one another, do good, and avoid evil. So if we can start from those principles, that's where the interfaith dialogue seeks to reach. Start from those basics, which makes us one.
Yeah, that's good. That is what I think the question from Cognier Terence in Bukwango, we have answered your question, because you have the same question with Mr. Kum from around Alakuma, Container Bar. I think your question is that what makes us think we can join together despite our differences in religion. So, as I said already, the fathers of the Second Vatican Council, precisely to be purport the seed, says we should concentrate on those things that unite us than those things that separate us. Let us keep aside our creeds. Creeds have to do with beliefs, various beliefs. Yes, let us go to that fundamental belief. Who is the creator of the heavens and the earth? God, Allah. That ultimate reality. That man who is the cause of everything, God. Let us walk from God. Let us forget about if Jesus is God or is not God. Let us forget about if Muhammad is more than Jesus or not. Let us forget about if Siddhartha Gautama, who founded Buddhism, is more than Muhammad or Jesus Christ. But let us centralize our faith, our unity on the one true God who created the heavens and the earth.
And I would like to add to Father Cletus that as we Catholics, we also Christians, we believe that there is unity in diversity.
Yep.
That three persons in one God. So the different churches or the different denominations we have should strengthen us. There's unity in diversity. So the more diverse we are, it's a blessing. Sometimes I say Cameroon is one of the most blessed nations because we have so many cultures, and those cultures make us more united and makes us one. So the more the division should not instead bring division but unity.
Thank you very much. And Jesse, we shall give us a 1 minute break. When we come back, we shall take on this questions or responses from the people, and then I will continue with the program. Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, we are on to the program Mountain Echoes, special edition of the Mountain Echoes, Interreligious Dialogue and Ecumenism. And Pastor Lovelyn, Madam Zainab Abdullahi, Father Rodrigue Jansen, and Mr. Cliff Awa. I remember when Bishop Michael Bibi appointed me as a leader of Interreligious Dialogue and Ecumenism in the Diocese of Buea, he told me one thing, that, Father, I want that in Fako division where we reside, let us be one. Make sure that you reach out to the Muslims, you reach out to the Protestants, you reach out to everybody, so that we may preach that unity that the fathers prayed for, our fathers prayed for. And I think that this is what we are doing in this platform. We are trying to bring that unity. All viewers of DMRO TV, the intention of this program is to preach that unity, that togetherness. We are all one, created by God. And that is why many questions are coming in. How can we really pray and look forward for that unity? And that is why we have this contribution from Mr. Diodone Tanyayem from Kumbo. He says, various religious traditions are influenced by power. My practices, pride, materialism, money, and you name the rest. So to him, what brings that disunity is centered on power. My practice is pride, materialism, and money. Do you agree with him, Madam Zainab?
Yes, Father, I agree with what he is saying, in as much as all those things are bringing division. But I think that on our space this evening, we should learn to avoid all those things and forgo, and we should not look at those things that are separating us. We should not criticize each other. Let us look at the positive things that bring us together, so that we should be one. I think if we are looking at which denomination or which church needs money or contribution, or where politics is coming, is everywhere. But now we should all focus, in as much as we want to dialogue and bring ourselves as interfaith people, let us avoid the things that will hurt each and everyone, or each religion. If I know that I'm talking to the Reverend Father, or I'm talking to, because like us women, we have some denominations, like you cannot see me preaching in the pulpits in the mosque, but I can do it in the midst of women.
Okay.
And if my sister here, she is a pastor, she is preaching in the pulpit, and if you know, we don't have female reverend fathers, so we already know that is already existing, so we should not go and touch the place that we are not supposed to. We already understand that is how these things are functioning, and we should learn how to avoid it. If you know that Zainab is not eating pork meat, don't save it on my table, because I will not. So if we know all those things that are separating us, let us avoid it and instead bring the positive aspect and live together.
Thank you very much. I remember I attended a meeting with you. That was the first day I moved in Buea Town, and you raised this point. You brought out this point very clearly. You are mentioning it today. I'm very happy because you mentioned that day that we need to understand various faith traditions. Like in the Catholic Church, we don't have women are not reverend fathers. In the Presbyterian Church, we have reverend pastors who are men and women. In the mosque, a woman cannot stand and preach in the mosque. And I think it's very important for us to know these things. If you know that this particular creed is professed by these people, don't go challenging them, don't go criticizing them. And then we have this contribution. This one is coming from Kongnyo Terence, again from Bokwango. Very active today. I'm very happy with you. He said that in order for us to achieve this unity, I think we should organize ourselves. For example, like Bomaka Parish, that organizes a parish youth camp involving different churches by Father Cletus Aka. Thanks a lot. What he's trying to say, like Bumaka, is we have our youth camp coming up.
Yeah.
Pastor Lovelin, your children will be coming
Yeah,
to
yes.
for the singing practice on Sunday.
We'll be
And
together.
they'll be together.
Yeah.
And the Baptists were to be there, but I don't know what is happening. But we'll see on that Sunday. I think we begin from our community, our Christian community, our quarters. From there, I think we can really preach that unity.
That unity.
Yes, Mr. Cliff Awa. Talking about history, you go down the history lane or the corridors of history, we discover that so many events in the world, be it political, social, psychosomatic, or be it even religious, has a lot to do with, has tampered a lot with the nature of human beings. In fact, you go to Europe today, you discover that many people are changing their sex. Some want to be women who are men, some want to be men who are women. Do you think that this has influence as far as interreligious dialogue is concerned? Imagine that I am from a Catholic background, I decided to change my sex. You said that no, in the Protestant world, we don't accept that. Do you think that such practices can really bring disunity as far as interreligious dialogue is concerned?
That's a strong one for the Cletus. Again, I want to go with, coming up for this program, I also went through some books about, especially as we to meet with Mami Zainab there. So I still came across something that Akbar Ahmed said. For those who believe in Islam, their choice is between being Muslim and being nothing. There is no other choice. Now, Father Cletus, you go back to the era of political theories, and Jean-Jacques Rousseau in his The Social Contract said, man is born free,
but everywhere in
chains.
Yes.
These are exactly some of the things we are discussing here. You have political, economic, social, cultural laws every facet of life, restricting people's freedom and liberty. I think interreligious dialogue at this point in time calls us to establish an open, transparent, and unrestricted dialogue concerning some of the most important issues that affect us all. So whether people, all the laws, I mean, if you want to go back, I recently published a book, If Bill Gates Were an African, and there I also looked at these issues, and there in things like this, the major focus was love, because you go to first John chapter 4, will tell you that God is love, and that is it was from that love that God created us and expects us to extend this love to one another. You cannot be saying that you love God or you love Allah, and then the person closest to you is not in order, in not good shape, then you are a liar. So therefore, I also went through I saw the teachings of three pronounced religious leaders had in centrality love at the core. I'm reading it verbatim. Buddha was not a Buddhist. Jesus was not a Christian. Muhammad was not a Muslim. They were all teachers who taught love. Love was their religion. As humans, we all have the right to life, the right to live, and the right and the dignity equal to all human beings. And so therefore, the centrality here is love issue. Again, I'll go back to one of the documents written by Pope John Paul II, Redemptor Hominis, when he said, man cannot live without love. He remains a being that is incomprehensible for himself. His life is senseless. If love is not revealed to him, if he does not encounter love, if he does not experience it and makes it his own, if he does not participate intimately in it, this is why Christ, the Redeemer, fully reveals man to himself. So, Father Cletus, I think I'm taking the opposite of your question by giving direct implications of what we have to do instead than those things that we are human. The human society is emphasizing on, because there's a document I'm also working on, Drifted, Man Away from God, because the secular society seems to be going against the nature. Go to the animal world, go to the plant world, their naturality, their nature is still intact. The rationality God gave us is instead becoming a very big problem to us. And I think that is why I took into this project, drifted man away from God, because our laws keep pushing us away from what God expects of us. Not even, some do not even see that he exists, especially when we come to the theory of evolution. God is off the topic. So
Thank
Father
you very
Cletus, I think those are the honest suggestions I can give, or contributions I can make as far as that issue is concerned.
Thank you very much. Talking about love, 1 John chapter 4 verse 16, God is love. I remember when the Prophet Muhammad left from Mecca and went to Medina. Yeah, there he settled in his house, and different religious personalities were coming, and they were trying to stop him. He said, "No, come, let us preach love." And we preach love in Medina. And when I look at the 5 pillars of Islam, it is all about love. Yeah, if you love Islam very well, you go to Mecca. If you love Islam very well, you pray 7 times a day, 5 times a day, correct? If you love Islam, you give alms to the poor, and so on. So I think those things, and then with us in the Bible, we have the 10 commandments. The first one is love of God. Yes. Then the second one is love of neighbor. Those are the 2 summarized by Jesus Christ. I think love is the centrality of ecumenism and interreligious dialogue. And if you love me, you embrace me as a human being, not my culture, not what I stand for, but you see me as a human person and you love me. Let me take this contribution. Good evening. I love when I see Pastor Lovelin. I am a Presbyterian from Bengui. Bengui people are very active this evening. I think
they have seen their daughter.
Okay, you are from Bengui.
Yeah.
You see, no. They say that blood is thicker than water. Yes. So I love when I see Pastor Lovelin and see the Catholic priests and the Muslims with us. I think this is what we really want. Thank you so much for this program. I'm watching from Bengui. I am called Kevin. We need your country name so that we'll know who is really talking about. So the next one, good evening all in the studio. This is a wonderful program coming from DMRO TV. This is what we need in the world, that unity. All is vanity if there is no love. This is coming from Kognio Peter from Kumbu. Another one, good evening Father, good evening Pastor, good evening Madam Zainab. Good evening, Mr. Cliff. I think this program is what we should encourage everywhere. And I think different TV channels and the radio stations to pick up this program. If it is done everywhere, we will have that awareness of unity. And I think the world will be a better place for all to live in. This is coming from Madame Senge Seraphine, all the way from Kumbatown. Wow. So we have so many people from Bengui. I've been in Bengui myself. That is where I did my driving test. While I was in the seminary. And Bengui is a very beautiful place. I remember when the Imam was here last 2 weeks, he was telling us that they went to Bengui. They went to the monastery. They ate there. They ate there. They drank milk. They discussed with the monks. It was so wonderful. This is what we want. That as Christ is telling us in the gospel that on the last day a child will put his hands in the mouth of a serpent, nothing will happen. A goat will play with tiger. And this is what we want. On the last day, a Muslim, I will see me in the mosque praying. I will see you in the Catholic church praying. I will see you in the more wonderful. Manage how the world will look like.
Of course.
So Pastor Lovelin, so what do you have to say to your people as far as interreligious dialogue and ecumenism goes? Talk to the people of Bengui. They are listening to you.
Well, thank you, Reverend. Thank you so much. What I have to say is just to encourage us to really correlate with people of all religion. And if we want to relate with people of different faith, we must be aware of the ambiguities in that religion.
Yeah.
And we should not allow the ambiguities to separate us, but instead, even in that diversity, we should really be based but on love, like the great commandment. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, and with all your soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. And this is the greatest. So I encourage us, whether you are a Muslim, whether you are a Buddhist, whether you are a Christian, from which denomination, as we are together, Let us love each other, and it will create a great impact in the world and will solve so much of the troubles that are in this world. And that is what interfaith dialogue is all about. Thank you.
All right, we have this contribution. Good evening, all in the studio. I am enjoying the program. For me, love is everything because God is love.
Yeah.
This is coming for Mrs. Lemnue. Mrs. Lemnue, you do not tell us where you're coming from, but I know where you're coming from. You're coming from Gardens in Limbe. It's St. Michael Mission Station. I work there, so I just saw your face here with your husband, Pa Lemnue. So we are greeting you, Mami Lemnue and Pa Lemnue, all the way from Gardens in Limbe. Another contribution. Good evening, all in the program. I like the program. I like the unity we need in the country. From Besem Emilien from Tico. Thank you so much, Besem Emilien from Tico. And Father Rodrigue Yamsi, before we wrap up with the program, let us look at the effect of media as far as interreligious dialogue is concerned. We live in an Android society whereby the media has a greater role to play. And in fact, we are using the media now to showcase this unity. What is the role played by media as far as interreligious dialogue is concerned?
Thank you very much, Father. I'll just start from there where we have just started. Media has a powerful role to play in this interfaith dialogue, just as we are experiencing it now. It provides that platform for us to share and to balance those differences that exist among us. We try to keep them away, and we try to make ourselves live as one. And media should also raise awareness of who we are. Sometimes you may grow up just seeing a Muslim, and you don't get to know them. But now having Madam Abdullah on board, Zainab Abdullah, now you tend to see that sometimes if you are in that stereotype, like you see that we can discuss, there are many things we can talk about. Even sometimes religious people that see, let me call them low-minded in religious matters, they tend to be defensive about their religion. Wow. We are not out to fight. So the media comes about to make us we know each other. We know that we share there's a lot that we can share about, and there's a lot that we should discuss about. And then there's also the negative aspect, which the media on its own part has also played, which I would like to point out to this sensational difference. Because I remember in 2014 there was a newspaper which came out in Nigeria which was titled Christians Against Muslims. So when the media comes out with such, and then what happened there is that it exaggerated a lot the conflict that was there, and it spreads a lot of hatred, a lot of just that title, Muslims against Christians. It's really a set for fight. So there's a lot that the media can do to bring about this unity, and also the perpetuating stereotypes. Because remember that in South Africa, there was in South Africa again 2014 again that very year. The media there was also a newspaper that branded Muslims as terrorists. So when I see Muslim terrorists, so those type of things make you a lot. It gives you a mind to look at other people as evil. Meanwhile, there's a lot that if we come together we can discuss. There I would like to also talk about the influence. The question that I asked talk also about the influence of political leaders. Political leaders also have the political leaders. Their role is to encourage. They should set examples, and they should set inclusive policies a lot. Inclusive policies like the 2014 in Uganda. There was the president of Uganda at the time. He banned homosexuality, and that was in accordance with all the religious leaders who came together on board, and they all decided together to unanimously do this. When you do something all inclusive, it also helps to reduce a lot of all this division which exists in the church.
Thank you very
Can
much.
I-
And
Can
yes,
I say-
Madam
can-
Abdullahi.
Can I just say something about the media?
Yeah.
In as much as media can create awareness, media destroys.
Of course.
And we have so many platforms that we can do this interreligious, we can do this same program on it, and like to denounce or to learn, like when we see such messages like what you have been saying on maybe Facebook, on Twitter, we follow up and we can write. We can contribute by saying the truth, what is about it. This is not how it happens, this is how it was. And like to tell the truth about the message. Like we should not take it like an annoyance, but we say, I thought that it is supposed to be like this. Yes, it's going to create a lot of awareness. If we also engage in these platforms, we should not only remain as being only in the studio, even contributions towards the various media platforms. By preaching this interreligious dialogue, we can engage there and also train our youths even in our various congregations to learn how to use it positively.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam Zainab. I have this contribution. Good evening, all in the studio. I like the program. It will really help to spread Christian unity among Christians across the world. I'm Etaba Jerry, watching from Kumba. Thank you, Mr. Jerry from Kumba. I have another contribution. Good evening, Father, and to all in the studio. Courage to you and all the religious authorities on set. We wish that this program comes up often as possible. If people get to understand the secret positive effects of love, the world will be a better place. Fergus, the trumpeter, know him, the trumpeter, no? He's from Moliko Church. He's my massive mate while we're in Moliko. And then I love this last contribution. Good evening, greetings. I am watching from Pastor Lovely's village, Three Corner. My name is Tafri David. Do you know Tafri David?
Yes.
Yeah, Benue people are very, very sensitive today. And you will see when I was doing history, secular history, as far as the First World War is concerned, 1914 to 1918, there were two things that influenced this First World War. The role of the press. There were two newspapers at that time, Jingoism and the Daily Newspaper in Britain. When they killed two people, they would say 20,000 people were killed.
Yeah.
So as a result of that, many people were angry and they went into the field to fight. During our 1939 and the 1945 Second World War, you discover that there was also a newspaper known as the Daily Time. It exaggerated the cause of the Second World War. That led to the dropping of atomic bomb in Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan. That led to the death of about 20 million people. Until today, when you are born in that place, either you come out with one hand or one leg or one ear, the effect of that atomic bomb. Somebody is calling us, please, you do not call us. You send in your contribution through a text message using that number there you have on your screen. And Madam Zainab Abdullahi, thank you so much for coming. Last word for our viewers.
Hello, viewers and the people in my platform. I'm so impressed being here today, and I hope everybody have listened. And we should continue doing this same dialogue. We should continue in our communities, in our homes, and being together as one person. Let us look at humanity first. We are one. All of us, we are human beings. We must learn to live together despite our various religions.
Yeah, today, just to say that today, I was privileged with you. I took you to Sase and you admitted your son to study in Sase. And from there again, you went to PCSS to send your son to school. I think it's a wonderful thing. That is
Yes,
a form
Father,
of
when I
the
was
religious
growing
dialogue.
before, in those our days
Yeah.
before, because of the misconception and everything, you rarely find Muslim students in these Catholics or Presbyterian schools.
Yeah.
But as time is going now, when you go to these various schools like the PCSS Boyatown,
Yeah.
Reverend Funky encouraged us to bring our. You find so many. Go to Baptist everywhere now. You
Yeah.
find Muslim students. They are there and they do practice their religion,
Yeah.
and which is a very good initiative. I think it has been understood that we need to respect each other's religion,
Yeah.
and which is very good initiative.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
I remember the last time when the Imam was here, he was telling us that in the Islamic school there, we have Christians teaching in the
Yeah.
Islamic school.
Yeah, we
And
have-
today you are a practical example. I was impressed that I carried you to Sase today. I was very happy. Yes, you know, we went to Sase and her son was submitted today in Sase. It's a wonderful thing. So, Father Rudy Jansen, your last word.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Cletus. And I would like to laud you for this wonderful initiative, and also for the program, for all this inclusive dialogue, and to be able to meet. Sometimes you always fear entering people's territory because you don't know how to welcome you and the rest. But I think you're doing much, and I would like to encourage this. And I would just like to give us time to reflect on the timely song which Michael Jackson once gave us, "We Are the World."
Yeah.
I think it was inspired also from this. We are the ones who make a better place for you and I. So I think we should all reflect on that, and thank you very much.
Yeah, Madam Zainab Abdullah, when the bishop appointed me, when I was coming to meet the imam, I was skeptical because I did not know if he will welcome me. I remember when I went to my 17 around this Amu Mezam, there's a mosque there. So when I called one of them, I asked her, please, I want the number of the imam. So the man gave me the number and told me one thing. He said that he's a very simple man, a very learned man, and very jovial man.
Yes.
That's what he told me.
Yes.
Then when I called him, know what he told me? He told me that he's in his shop at the Bongo Square. He said I should come and meet him there. When I met him in his shop, he asked me, what do I want there? Let me take. I said, hey, this is a mom. Then he was saying, no, he told me that this is where interreligious dialogue begins. I was so happy that the man is a jovial man. So I want to enter there and select a very big thing and carry it. So that is a wonderful thing. And Mr. Cliff, your last word for us before we go.
Yes, Father Cletus, before I give my last words, I want to remind us in what Edward Herbert, in his common notion, identified as 5 elements in all religions. The first side, he said, there is a supreme deity. This deity should be worshipped. The most important part of religion practice is the cultivation of virtue. One should seek repentance for wrongdoing, and one is rewarded or punished in this life and the next. And of course, like we always say, amo vincit omnia. Yes. As I say, love conquers or love overcomes all. I think in this my recent book for the Accra If Begins One African, the plight of Africans and a call for transformative actions. There is a passage there that I titled "Love Remains the Ultimate Balm," and when this love remains the ultimate balm, it is only through it that we can use to heal a broken society. It remains the only medicine that will cure mankind, and where it seems it is not working, we must not relent to double the dose. Let our love for humanity be our sole religion. So I think first of all, I'm very impressed, especially when I saw this, and I think this appointment by the bishop is first of its kind. And we thank God that, like, remember in churches you said the church keeps developing its doctrine and not change it to fit the society. It changes the doctrine so that the people can better live in it. And I think that this initiative was one of its kind. And I think putting you in the office was just divinely ordained. And of course, we are hoping that with your efforts and those who will be collaborating with you, our world would be a better place, because a lot of ignorance is out there that we think that the right things we are supposed to be doing, these things we are supposed to be doing, are not actually the things we are supposed to be doing. So I think the essence of the whole discussion tonight has been to encourage interfaith dialogue, not that we are tampering on people's core beliefs or creed, but the fact that in as much as, like we saw in the 5 articles or common notions, we all see these things in our various religions, but then what is bigger is humanity, and humanity is knit together with a thread of love. If it is absent, then we are paralyzed.
Thank you very much, Madam Lovelyn. Your last word for our viewers, especially those watching you from Bengui.
Thank you, Reverend Father Cletus. Before I give my last word to the viewers, I first of all really want to appreciate you and laud your efforts really in this interfaith dialogue and ecumenism. I've experienced it in Bomaka, and we are together, and I just wish to say, even your appointment also just came to confirm what you started even before that. And to our viewers out there, beloved brother, beloved sister who is watching us from wherever, the end of it, or the beginning and the end of it, the alpha and the omega of it is love. If we love one another, then there is nothing that can be more than us. In love, we shall overcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If I don't take this contribution, the person will be angry. Read the last before we close. Good evening, Father Aka. Good evening, Mr. Cliff. Good evening, Mami Pastor. Good evening, Mami Zenab. There in the studio, I am Ewo Odette from Bomaka. I love the program. Yes, so thank you so much, Odette. Thank you so much, Ferry. Thank you very much, Fergus. Thank you very much, Tari, David, Bessem, Emilian, and all those who contributed. I have about 5 contributions coming in. I will not read them. We are out of time. Thank you very much. And I wish to say that this thing is possible because His Lordship Bishop Mike Bibi appointed me as leader of this. So all thanks, all gratitude goes back to Bishop Mike Bibi, the Bishop of Boya, for this initiative. It has never happened in the history of Boya. Boya Diocese is 75 years old today. We have never had this office that a priest is assigned to cater for interreligious dialogue and ecumenism. When the bishop came in, of course, influenced by the Holy Spirit, he decided to bring out that appointment today. So I want to thank him very much for that. So thank you very much, JC, for a wonderful shootout of this program. Thank you very much, the station manager, Joyce Mbong. And this one is coming in from Land Pilot. I must read it because it's from the Land Pilot. Good evening, and thanks a lot. I am Frank, the Land Pilot. That is our driver. Yes, so he's coming in. He's the last person, the landlord here. I will end with him. And thank you very much, Bishop Mike Bibi. Thank you very much, Pastor Lovelin, for coming. Thank you very much, Madam Zenab Abdullahi. Thank you very much, Father Rodrigue Yangsi. Thank you very much, Mr. Cliff Awa. Look forward to have you here again with us in the studio. Have a wonderful night, and may God bless all of us.